Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Plot summary. Act 1. Willie gets back from a business trip from Boston, and when his wife meets him at the door, she tells him that Biff is back home from working out west. Willie has constant flashbacks to Biff and Happy growing up, their time in high school, and all the sacrifices that he made for them growing up. The reader finds out that Biff was a very good high school football player and had many offers from colleges, but he failed grade 12 math and became ineligible for these scholarships. Linda, who's Willie's wife, tells the boys about Willie driving off the road on purpose to try to kill himself. Biff tells Happy that he came back because he felt that he was wasting his life by being a farmhand. He also tells Happy about his business plan, which is to open a sports store in Florida. Act 2. Willie goes to talk to his boss about being taken off commission and get to put more on a permanent salary and position at his sales firm. Howard, Willie's boss, tells Willie that he can't do that and then fires Willie. Willie has another flashback to when he was having an affair with a woman in Boston. When Biff goes to get a loan from an old employer and tells him his business plan, he gets denied. Biff and Happy invite Willie to Frank's Chop House for dinner, but ditch him when they see two prostitutes come in. Biff and Happy then leave with the prostitutes. The reader finds out the reason that Willie and Biff are always fighting. Willie says he felt betrayed by Biff when he refused to go into business, and that is why Willie will always be rude to Biff and hate Biff. Willie is overwhelmed by everything that has gone on and kills himself. Themes. American Dream. Willie is trying his best to achieve the American dream through business. Every decision Willie makes has to do either with making money or doing well selling. Willie just wants to give his family the most and always pay off his debt. By Willie following the American dream, this causes him living to paycheck, which fuels his depression. Depression. Willie is constantly being worn down by unfortunate events that occur to him and his family. For example, when he finds out Biff failed math and will not be able to accept any of his football scholarships, or when he is constantly worried about money and how he will be able to afford things. Biff also experiences depression by he seems to fail at everything he does. He failed math and couldn't go to college. He can't hold down a job, and when he asks for a loan from an old employer, he is rejected. Happy is also depressed by realizing he has no purpose in life, that he will be working the exact same job and live in the exact same apartment all his life. The only thing Happy is looking towards is either his boss dying or retiring so he can move up and take his position. Betrayal. When Biff does not want to go into business, Willie takes it as his son is betraying him. He feels that he is not respected by Biff because he refuses to go into business, and that is the main cause to them always being in constant fights. Another example is flashbacks. They show Willie is having an affair with another woman in the play. Willie is betraying his wife by seeing another woman when he is on business trips in Boston and not being faithful. Main cast. Willie Loman, a 63-year-old businessman who travels all over the East Coast to sell things to people and stores. He has had a bit of a rough patch and money is very tight. He has been very suicidal lately by witnesses saying he keeps driving off the road on purpose trying to kill himself. He has a bunch of flashbacks and seems very delusional throughout the play. After getting into numerous fights with friends and family, he has had enough. He also gets fired from his job that he worked his whole life at, and his son Biff does not get the loan he wants. Willie then kills himself. Biff Loman is 34 years old and Willie's son. He was an amazing high school football player but failed grade 12 math and lost all of his scholarships to the universities that recruited him. He also worked many jobs all over the country, and his latest has been being a farmhand. His dad wants him to settle down and get a job in business like him. Ever since high school, Biff has run around with everyone and has been with different girls constantly. His dad also wants him to stop this and get married and have a life. After a little while, he goes and asks one of his old bosses for a loan to start up a sports gear store in Florida. He gets denied, and after another fight with his dad, decides to leave, but before he does, Willie kills himself. Linda Loman is Willie's wife and the mother to Biff and Happy. The only thing she really looks forward to is when everything, which includes house, car, etc., is paid off and they are debt-free. Unlike Willie, she is always encouraging the sons to do whatever they want instead of just following business like Willie wants them to. She has stood by Willie's side throughout their whole life, even through the good and the bad. Happy Loman is Biff's younger brother and also a salesman. He has an apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and works as an assistant buyer at a store. He has also followed in his father's footsteps, and he is very unhappy with his life because he feels that he has no purpose. The only thing he looks forward to is for his boss dying so he will get his job and then not be stuck in the same position. Minor cast. Bernard. He is Charlie's son and was a childhood friend of Biff and Happy. Bernard was seen as a nerd because the only thing he did was study. He's a successful lawyer now, and Willie is jealous of how well he turned out compared to his two sons. Charlie. He's Bernard's dad and Willie's next-door neighbor. He is very wealthy and a successful businessman, who Willie is trying to live up to or be to success. Willie borrows money from time to time to help pay his bills and is truly Willie's only friend. Uncle Ben is Willie's older brother. He is currently dead, but when he was alive, he was a very wealthy businessman. Willie is always trying to live up to or beat Ben's successes, which also causes him to be depressed. Howard Wagner is Willie's boss who inherited the company from his late father. Willie looks at Howard as a god, while Howard is very rude to Willie and treats him like a child, even though Willie is older than him. He later fires Willie. The Woman is Willie's mistress who lives in Boston. He is seeing her when Biff and Happy are in high school. Biff actually catches them together and causes Biff to lose all faith in his father. It is also believed that the woman is a prostitute. Stanley, a waiter at Frank's Chop House and is also one of Happy's friends. Jenny is Charlie's secretary. Letta and Miss Forsyth are women Happy and Biff were the night that Willie killed himself. They are also to be believed to be prostitutes. Lenses. Marxism lens. The Marxist approach is prevalent by looking at Willie, his job, and his financial situation. Marxist theory is that the upper class rules the working class, and this causes the workers to be exploited. This occurs in Willie's job by even after working for the company for a long time, his bosses still make him do all the bad jobs. At the age of 63, they are still forcing him to travel all over the East Coast to sell after numerous times Willie asked if he could stay closer to home. The old owner even promised Willie that he could make this happen. They even forced him to work only on commission, and the only reason why Willie stays is because he needs the money. Here's a quote from the play that kind of backs this up. I'm definitely going to get one, because lots of time I'm on the road, I think to myself, what am I missing on the radio? Willie says. Don't you have a radio in the car? Howard asks. This quote really shows the financial difference between Willie and his boss Howard. Howard is surprised that Willie doesn't have a radio in his car because all the new cars have radios. But Willie cannot afford any of the new cars because he is working at a very low wage that Howard has set for him. Here's a quote from a secondary source to kind of back this up too. Willie, who has been consumed, almost blinded by capitalist ideas where money, power, and social standing are perceived as most important. This quote from a secondary source kind of backs up what I'm saying, is that Willie is so consumed with trying to make as much money as he possibly can, he is not enjoying his life and enjoying his family. The only thing he ever seems to care about is money, which is actually ruining his life and ruining his family. Another lens is the feminist lens. The feminist approach is prevalent by looking at Linda and her role in the play. The reader can see that Linda has accepted her role as a housewife and does everything that she is told to do. She does all the chores around the house and serves her family no matter what. She never questions her husband or his commands and stands by his side at all times. Even when she finds out that he cheated on her, she still stays with him. Even when she finds out Willie is trying to kill himself, she never confronts Willie because she doesn't want to get in a fight with him. Willie is also very dismissive towards her and never lets her talk. And when she does talk, he gets very mad at her. So here's a quote from the play kind of backing this up. I'll make you a sandwich, says Linda. This basically happened right after Willie got home and was all mad that his sons were visiting. And he said he was very hungry. And instead of him making himself a meal, he kind of just says, I'm hungry, and then Linda just kind of pops up and then says, oh, I'll make you a sandwich, and kind of just serves Willie. So here's a quote from a secondary source. Willie constantly interrupts her speaking, restricting her from expressing her opinions. This also goes with Willie not treating her properly and not giving her a say in the house. Connection to literature. I compared The Great Gatsby to Death of a Salesman. The American dream is both present in The Great Gatsby as it is Death of the Salesman. In The Great Gatsby, both Nick and George, who is the mechanic, were trying to follow their own version of the American dream and make the most money they possibly could and support themselves as well as their families. In Death of the Salesman, Willie is trying to achieve his American dream through business and support his family. So here's a quote from The Great Gatsby. The Carraways are something of a clan, and we have a tradition that we've descended from the Dukes of Bucklinch, but the actual founder of the line was my grandfather's brother, who came here in 51, sent a substitute to the Civil War, and started the wholesale hardware business that my father carries on to this day. This kind of just shows how the Carraways, which is Nick's family, worked very hard and achieved their American dream. Now here's a quote from Death of the Salesman. Biff Loman is lost. In the greatest country in the world, a young man with such personal attractiveness gets lost, and such a hard worker. There's one thing about Biff. He's not lazy. So that is a quote that Willie is saying to Linda and talking about Biff, and that basically Biff has all the potential because he's in America and that he just needs to try a lot harder like the Carraways did, and then he will achieve his American dream. So here's kind of our connection to society/historical connection. So I chose the American dream. The American dream is still alive today and all over the world. Back in the day, men would start off working at a company and then for the rest of their lives try to climb the corporate ladder. Men would make money and try to support their family the best they could. They would try to pay off their mortgage and all their other debt by the time they retire, and then hopefully when they retire there is some money to their name. Today the American dream looks a bit different. People go to school now and get an education so they can get a good job. They may try to climb the corporate ladder, but not as much as they would back in the day. People make money to support their family and to pay their bills, and again hopefully by the time they retire they have some money to their name. So now we kind of just skip down to the interactive part, which Brendan made a Kahoot, and it was kind of like it kind of covered both our books, but he already did it in class. So yeah, and then here's just my works cited. Thank you.